Cotton crossover, quick release. Oh, baby, and the foul. Woo. Offensive rebound for Watson.
32 seconds. Shot clock differential about 14 seconds. 3-point lead.
Who run shit like me? Top 5 basically. I still play for keeps. Ain't no fantasy. Hey.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Divine Providence. This is episode 20 and a special portal episode for everyone out there. The sun is shining. It's a nice spring day, and we have transfer season. So a lot to talk about, finally. Gentlemen, how are we feeling coming into the portal?
Portal combat, baby. Portal combat. I tweeted something out earlier today. I want the stimulation of the Friars landing someone big early and getting excited about it, but I also know what, we know what a Friar team looks like when it seems like the portal is rushed and the roster's filled out within the first couple weeks. So, indifferent. I'm on the fence right now.
Yep. Oh, I hear you. Eduardo?
First off, I'm glad you guys have a nice spring day because it did snow in Syracuse today. Just to let you guys know. So pretty miserable up there. But last week's been very unproductive, just scrolling Twitter, just waiting for people. Just absolutely doing nothing watching basketball. It's basically it.
It is definitely a tough time of year to be productive. You add the portal with the coaching carousel, and then you have the NCAA tournament. It's tough. So no shame in that. Scrolling, Twitter, Discord, all that good stuff. So I think where we should kind of start is first by talking about the guys that are gone. So we know the ones that are staying, right? That's great. Really happy to retain Oswin, Ryan Mila, Corey Floyd, obviously huge. So I think where we probably should start is talking about the guys that are leaving. So number one, the biggest one, Bryce Hopkins. I know that's talked about a lot. There's really not much that hasn't been said about Bryce Hopkins at this point. But there's some rumors going around that we're looking at St. John's versus Georgetown as kind of a little bit of a bidding war. And then possibly, an SEC team, maybe Arkansas, kind of joining the fray a little later on. Any predictions on where Bryce goes right now?
Personally, I would love to see a bidding war between St. John's and Georgetown because the more money the Hopkins camp demands, the less money one of those schools has to spend, realistically. Obviously, the namesake of this podcast is driven through the whole Ed Cooley saga, and I think if Bryce commits to Georgetown, that just adds a whole nother layer to the lore of everything we've talked about with that situation. But it sounds like St. John's has some steam.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think that the Hopkins to Georgetown thing, I think it would frustrate a lot of Friar fans. But the way I'm looking at it is this PC versus Georgetown thing is one of the more active, off the court rivalries in sports right now. Whether they like it or not, whether we like it or not, whether the Big East likes it or not, it's true. And if Bryce Hopkins goes there, you're adding fuel to the fire to an already very, combustible situation. So I agree. I mean, I think a bidding war would probably serve PC well. I don't think anyone wants him to go to Georgetown on the PC side. I think, we all acknowledge that Bryce is a good player. I think we can also acknowledge that it probably was just time to go separate ways. Not anything to do with Bryce's on the court performance, but waiting around a third year for your best player, that's already ate up a ton of NIL. If that didn't work out, right, you're in a situation as Knapp or Kim where you're like, it's tough to explain that. Third year, Bryce, ton of money, big chunk of the NIL. Eduardo, let's get your take on this. Do you think that PC's better off just using Bryce's money elsewhere?
First off, I personally don't really care where Hopkins goes. He wanted to go. He decided to take the season off. He can do whatever he wants. I hope St. John's, Georgetown goes in a bidding war with him, but I feel like it was best off just him to go his own way.
Well said. Well said. What about using the funds for, somebody else? I mean, do you feel like it's better at this point for them to just look elsewhere?
Well, yeah, you obviously have a lot more money now because you don't have to pay Hopkins. And we have a lot of spots to fill considering the last 2 days lost 6, 7 players to the portal.
Yeah. Well,
So
we have an active
spots to fill and a lot of NIL money leaving. So we just got to fill some spots.
Leb, I think you made a good point too, as far as there's so much more money to be allocated throughout this program now that your star player isn't, taking up, $750,000 at the end of the bench. I don't have any animosity towards Bryce, and I'm sure, a lot of fans don't. But at the end of the day, that's not a small chunk of change to just be wasting away and not playing in games. That's $700, $800, whatever the number is, $100,000 can be put to use this year. And it was just like you lit $700,000 on fire last season. And we saw what that looked like.
Yeah, and it's definitely frustrating as a fan. I think as a fan, whether you donate to the program or not, we all spend a lot of money toward the program in one way or another. And obviously, Bryce doesn't owe any one specific person any one thing, but he does owe at least, the program and the fans fairness, because we are paying him quite a bit of money. And, I don't know if Bryce treated Providence College completely fairly 100% of the time he was here. And I think that's fine to say, as a fan. I think fans get caught in the trap between, saying what they want to say and then versus trying not to dog the players too much and be overly critical and obviously be rude, because at the end of the day, these are college kids, so to speak. But these also are professionals at this point. If you want to get paid like a professional, then more than likely you're probably going to get treated like one. We don't ever condone attacking a player or messaging a player or anything like that. But I think PC fans have a very, very, very good case to be upset about this situation. So I think ending it with him going to Georgetown would be the icing on the cake. And I think it would send a lot of people over the edge. So I am a little concerned about, what that would happen. The way I look at it is more fuel to a good rivalry. And I think it could be a lot of fun when he comes back here, just like it was with Ed Cooley last or two years ago.
Yeah, like you said, I think it would add to a great rivalry, which would be awesome and all hunky-dory if it wasn't a one-sided rivalry and, Georgetown suddenly became the better team. I don't know if just adding Bryce Hopkins to the mix makes Georgetown this Big East contender by any means, but that's the one thing I would be concerned about because, to call a spade, Bryce Hopkins is a great player. However, Georgetown had a couple great players this year, and they were still nowhere in, Big East contention.
Yeah.
So that would be my one concern. But
It's a
also,
good
again, 1 year rental of Bryce Hopkins.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's a good point. They had Sorber, they had Peavy, probably losing both of those guys. And then if Bryce Hopkins and obviously this isn't a show about Georgetown, but yeah, I don't think that getting Bryce Hopkins makes Georgetown or St. John's immediately, where they want to be, especially if St. John's loses some. I think St. John's is going to be really good. Georgetown, I don't know. We got to see what happens in the transfer portal. So moving on, though, next one down the line, obviously, a guy that's been here for a long time, Jayden Pierre. So that news came out late. I think that was yesterday, right, or 2 days ago, whatever. Jayden, not surprising that he's leaving. Obviously, very good player on paper. Does all the things when you look at a stat sheet that you would want a basketball player to do. In my opinion, it was just kind of time for Jayden Pierre to move apart. I don't really see any Friar fans that upset about this one. What was your initial reaction to JP leaving?
This is, I think, kind of similar to the Bryce Hopkins situation where unfortunately, it just makes sense. And there's like Jayden Pierre had a turnover problem. That's no secret. I feel like everyone can say that. And we needed a better presence at the point guard position. And we didn't really have that this season. We've talked about it on this podcast, like great shooter, great scorer. But he's undersized and has a turnover problem. He would be a great sixth man, first guy off the bench on a good competitive team. Unfortunately, that's just as a rising senior, that's not the role you want, and I don't blame him in the slightest. I just think it was the best decision for both parties to kind of move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. Eduardo, what do you think?
I agree with that. I hope he lands on his feet because he seems like a very nice kid. So he's done 3 years with the program. He's put up solid minutes. I mean, he played a decent amount as a freshman, so he's played a lot for us, and I hope he finds his way in the transfer portal.
Yep. No, I agree. Who else? So we have another one that kind of was surprising was Bonk. I don't really have a lot of words to say about Bonk. I think he just wanted a lot of money, from what I've heard, for not a lot of basketball. But he's also very big, and he saw PC pay increased $400,000. So, when you see that, right, you're probably going to say, well, if that's the going rate for a 7-footer, that sucks at basketball. Maybe I can do pretty well. No offense to Grease.
Yeah, I mean, Bonk was a work in progress all year. We didn't really see any flashes of him, being a I don't want to punch below the belt and say like a competent Big East player, but like you didn't see any flashes of like, oh yeah, if he just figures that out, he's going to be a real good player in this conference. I've voiced my frustration with the Bonk situation. I think he got too many minutes this season. Because like knowing that he is a work in progress. So I don't know. I'm indifferent about it. Like you said, don't have too many words, but another guy, wish him nothing but the best.
Yep. No, agreed. And then we have NBA prospect Eli DeLaurier gone. That one.
Where did that come from? I
guess there was some talk that he was an NBA ready prospect. I don't know, over the last summer. I don't know if that's true, but
no doubt.
He's a farmer.
He's a farmer. Yeah. I remember
nails.
The farmer thing. I don't remember anyone saying he was an NBA prospect, but like it sounds like a burner rumor and it's funny, so whatever.
I think that comes from they had scouts like pre-season, like just come to a practice, and they really liked Eli. I guess they told Kim he could be an NBA prospect. I think that's what it comes from.
So who do you think gets drafted first out of the three?
I know where this is going.
Eli DeLaurier, Chris Sandico, Thomas Sorber.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say Garway because the Garway NBA thing was funny too. Like, where did that come from? Like, that was so stupid, Like, he was not ready for the NBA. Maybe
Garway made a little bit of sense, just in the sense of No, I don't think he's ever going to be like a dominant college basketball player, but his just like style of play, watching him play basketball, um, just feels like that of an NBA style type of game. Um, but that's not to say he has the skill set of someone who a team should spend their 54th pick on.
Off topic, is
Yeah.
Garway in the portal? Is he coming back to Seton Hall?
Garway has
Hold
not
up.
entered the portal officially yet. I don't know if he is planning on it, but I think he'd be smart for him to just come back to Seton Hall.
Well, especially if they need an enforcer, someone to throw some elbows.
Yeah. So then we have who else is officially out?
Fernandez.
Fernandez. Yeah. That one I would have liked to see Fernandez stay. I was okay with kind of him or being patient with his development. It's kind of unfortunate, but it's not a huge loss in my opinion.
That game against Villanova, where he just lit it up, like that made me genuinely excited to see how the rest of his career played out. This is honestly probably the one, like all of these other transfers kind of make sense to me, at least. We talked about Pierre, we talked about Hopkins, Bonk, Asandiko, are they Big East caliber bigs? Even Delorier, like Fernandez is one that's like, damn, like if he just stuck around one more year, earn some more minutes, whether it's off the bench, couple spot starts here and there. I really liked his potential. Unfortunately, it's a business, so he's got to do what's best for his career.
Of course, no, absolutely, and he's got to go chase the bag. I mean, he's only got I don't know how many years of college basketball he has left. I don't think it's very many. It's probably one or maybe two. So, yeah, definitely. Lost Creased. So Creased is out. That one, I don't think anyone really is upset about. Not to pile on Creased, but maybe Mac, I don't know. But he, that was also one where there was just no path, in my opinion. Regardless, like even if he wanted to take a significant pay cut just to kind of maybe stay on board, there's no pathway in which I felt it made sense for him to come back. I think the damage was just done. With the fans and the program, I just think it was good for Creased to put his name in the portal. Hopefully, like same with all those other guys. Hopefully, he lands on his feet somewhere and can get some good minutes somewhere.
Agreed. I just got to wear that one. I think I had a self-discovery moment this season. Coming into the season, Chris Asandiko was my guy. I was like, hell yeah, let's go. I learned fast that I'm not a takes guy. I will not be giving many takes on this show. Because that one was just, I had to wear it. But obviously, best of luck to Creased.
Yeah, and you know what? You're going to have some bad takes, right? It's the nature of the business. So, no issues. Creased had a lot of potential, and I still think he does. I mean, he's got a good size to him. He can do a couple things. I feel offensively that make him valuable. Catching the ball is really not one of them, but if he works on that, then kind of learns a system that fits, finds somewhere that fits him really well. Then he could be a good player. So now for the more interesting part, right? I think that this is kind of what keeps us all going this time of year is the portal targets. So we put out a tweet yesterday about just kind of some of the targets that people would like to see us talk about. Do we have that tweet?
Yes, we can have that pulled up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Melvin Council is a name. This is recommended by Captain Bruce. Melvin Council is a name that I've seen a lot. St. Bonaventure, especially for a smaller A10 school, I feel like has been talked about a decent amount in this portal cycle so far. Guys coming in, guys going out. What do you guys think about Melvin Council?
So big council guy. This was a rumor that I heard the Saturday before Selection Sunday, and I have a little funny story about this actually. So a friend who is very much in the know with basketball in general, not necessarily Providence College, but basketball in general in this state, pretty high up, has another friend that it was applying to be on staff at PC. Don't know the name of this person, but they told me that they have close ties with Kim. What I had heard was that Oswin went down to Atlanta, signed with a new agent, right? And this is all just what I've been told. And I don't care. I'm happy to share it because it's nothing bad. He had signed with a new agent, and the agent, wanted PC to match the number. And this was when there was kind of like some rumors about Oswin maybe transferring, going elsewhere. Since then, obviously, Oswin and PC have agreed to a deal. But part of that deal was that Melvin Council would come to PC. And, super random. Well, I was like, are you sure you have this right? And he was like, yeah, 100%. And we were talking, we were at the Thirsty Beaver in Smithfield. This was right after the Bryant game. So we were talking about Melvin Council. We were talking about his stats. Literally 10 minutes after we had that conversation and we finished talking about Melvin Council, we're watching whatever. It was, I think Michigan was playing. It was Big Ten championship or semifinal. Clark Schmidt, the St. Bonaventure coach, walks into Thirsty Beaver. So we were just finished talking about Melvin Council, talking about his point guard. And the St. Bonaventure coach walks into the Thirsty Beaver. And I was so confused. I was like, what is happening? That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I was like, is he trying to help the situation? And then come to find out his son is on staff at Bryant. So he was in town for the Bryant game. Well, what a freaking crazy coincidence that we're talking about Melvin Council. And I'm like, we're looking at his stats, talking about what he can help, how he can help, what kind of player he is, etc. And the St. Bonaventure coach just fucking strolls right in. And there's no one in this place. It's me and my friends, and then a couple Bryant people celebrating the W, and then just freaking Clark Schmidt walks in. And I'm like, how is this even real right now? So I had to tell a story. But that's what I heard. I heard that Oswald.
You should have chatted him up, done a little pseudo tampering. That's Big J right there.
Well, I'm not going to go up to a guy.
I bet he looks good in black and white, huh?
I'm not going to torment the guy about a point guard that might be transferring. He just watched his son win a conference championship. I wasn't going to go up to him and hound him. So I was kind of letting him be. But I don't really drink since I've gotten kidney failure. But I was like, if this was a normal Saturday and I was having a few beers, I definitely would have went up to him. But I was stone cold sober, so just wasn't gonna do that. But yeah, and be like, hey, get your point guard to come, to Providence, play with the Friars. I mean, I didn't really know, what angle to take with that. So
yeah,
but yeah, funny story.
I think Melvin Council kind of reminds me of Eduardo. I want your thoughts on this too, but he kind of reminds me of a David Duke type of combo guard, a smaller David Duke.
Wait, first off, what's the relation between Oswin and Council? I don't know if you said it or I missed it.
Truly have zero clue. I asked him, and he said he has no idea either. So this could be completely made up and complete nonsense. This is a really, really trusted source. and he said but it's secondhand information. So like, it could be complete bullshit. So I was just saying it was more of a coincidence. I have no idea what their connection is at all.
What was your question, Mac? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I just wanted to get your thoughts on Melvin Council.
I haven't really watched him that much. I know he killed us in Mohegan, so I feel like there's a trend of people that just destroy us in games that we go after in the transfer portal next year. But I'm for it.
So I have his stats pulled up. Like I'm not gonna pretend like I watch St. Bonaventure's. Like anyone who pretends like they know everything about every transfer is insane. But pulling up his stats, he's the defensive combo guard. He doesn't shoot the three very well. But it seems like that pass first point guard that we need. Like I said, doesn't shoot great, so maybe wouldn't fit the system too well. But you need a pass first point guard who can hold on to the ball, distributes well, plays good defense. Yeah, I don't know. It just screams David Duke to me. The shooting mixed with the size and the defense, athleticism.
Yeah, I think that's a decent comparison. What's his, is it Clark Schmidt? What's his name? It's not Clark Schmidt.
I believe Clark Schmidt is a pitcher for the Yankees. I didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a Yankee.
I think it's Mark.
Mark Schmidt, correct. You're right. Well, I'm glad I didn't say hi to him because I didn't know his fucking name. So,
what's up, Clark? He'd be like, "Look, talking to me."
I probably would have called him coach for what it's worth.
Fair,
but yeah, that's pretty funny. So yeah, I do like Council, but I didn't really know much about him prior to that conversation. So that would be cool. I mean, I think if anything, Oswin probably just trying to identify maybe a point guard to play with that will get him the ball really well. I think Council is good because one problem with like a pass first point guard in this lineup is, like I said before when we were talking about or before we were recording, we were talking about the Malachi, the kid from Dayton, and I like him, but we need to inject scoring as well. So Council can definitely score. If you're going to go past first point guard, you gotta like the two starting positions you have open after that, like the 4 and another wing. They gotta be just absolute buckets because Oswin is a great player, but he's not the most polished, offensively. So, and same with Corey Floyd. Like Corey Floyd's he's not like one that can take over a game offensively unless he takes like a massive step, which Unc was saying he's going to average 20 a game. So maybe,
Yeah. Side note, Unc did like a tour a day spaces last night. It was bouncing from spaces to spaces. And
oh yeah,
he was getting me fired up, man. He was talking about Oswin and Oswin's development and how if you lock Oswin in a gym for the summer and you just make him do drop steps, baby hooks. We've talked about how Oswin's just a raw player, hasn't been playing very long. Like that's one guy. Complete side note, but like I'm very much looking forward to his development for next year.
Yeah, the sky's the limit with Oswin. I'm not really sure we've ever had a big man that has this high of ceiling in the modern era. This is completely new territory for BC fans. So, I think we get a lot of comparisons. Unc was comparing him to Pat Ewing. I honestly don't he got a lot of hate for that, but I don't hate that at all. Like, I don't think he's saying that he's going to be as good as Patrick Ewing, but there is something about when you look at those two in college that's just what they did was relatively simple, but they were really good at it. And I think that can be Oswin. Like, Oswin's never going to be like fancy, taking step backs, shooting from the elbow, like, but you get him the ball inside and you're going to have a really good chance of scoring. So I get what he's saying.
Sticking with the big man in, the transfer world, another person that was commented on our post was from the Big John, who talked about someone we're rumored to be in on, and someone who I'm pretty excited about is Taylor Bol Bowen from Florida State. I don't know if you guys have thoughts on him, but it sounds like there is some smoke around Taylor Bol Bowen and his potential of being a Friar.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. He's definitely in my top 5. I would really, really like him. I don't know how well him and Oswin would pair together, but you can get a kid like that. I really think that that would be just a really, really big get.
Yeah, I mean, he's 6'10", and I did some research. In ACC play, he shot just under 50% from 3 at 6'10". And it's not like he was just like he took 2 threes and hit one of them. Like he's a legit stretch 4, which I think this team has lacked, not just this year, but the past couple years. A taller guy who you can bring outside the arc. So I'm excited about him. 6'10", can protect the rim. He's a rising junior, so in a perfect world, you never know in the NIL world, but in a perfect world, that's a guy you'd have in the program for 2 years. So yeah, like you said, he's right at the top of my list.
I think he's the perfect 4 for Kim's system. The one big issue for me last year is we didn't have a lot of length on the wings. Like, I think the Big East game, we started 4 guys under 6'4". Having a guy like Taylor, 6'10", can guard basically 1 through 5. It's like a big get. And I think it should be a big priority for us, especially because he's a local kid as well.
Definitely.
Another thing I've noticed, as far as the guys we have left on the roster, so Oswin, Mila, Floyd, and then the 2 guys we know are definitely coming in next year, Jones and Harrell. A majority of the team right now is homegrown talent, which I feel like hasn't always been super like exciting young homegrown talent. Which I guess like you had Reeves and Duke or Langford, but it seems like Kim is kind of building up that local recruiting trail. We see that he's recruiting guys from Worcester Academy right now. Even Oswin's high school, Putnam Science. So that is promising to see for sure as well. Even with the transfers, you get a Bol Bowen or who's the kid from Virginia? That's a local kid.
Power.
Yeah, so him as well. Like, I don't know. If I hear a kid from New England, like he's automatically on my radar.
Yeah, I love that. And that's really like going to be our best friend with this world. Like we have a lot of money, right, to spend, but we don't have the most money. So like when you're in that situation, right, and you see this with the MLB, like it's really, you have to get guys that want to play for you and aren't obsessed with like their absolute bottom line, like at every turn, getting the most money, like maybe just being comfortable in a good situation and developing the right way and maybe leading to an NBA career is going to be enough for some guys. And as long as the money is like close, right? Like I think that you look at a guy like, Oswin, and he probably could have gotten more on the open market if there was a bidding war between, 2 SEC teams or an SEC team and an ACC team. But ultimately, it might only been $50,000 or $100,000. So why not stay in a situation where you know is good for you and could lead to more money in the future? I think that that's really what you try to target, and targeting local kids, homegrown local kids is probably the best way to do that. Because I mean, like if I was really good at basketball, I would play for Providence College for free. I'm a sicko, disgustingly big fan, and I'm not saying that that's reasonable to expect for most kids. But I think you look at a guy like Jalen Harrell, and I don't think that he would play for anyone else right now. Will that change in the future? Maybe. But the kid wants to play here. And I think that's what you just need to fill your roster with. Like when you don't have the most money, you got to find people that want to play here. Like, Knapp and Kim have said, guys that, want to be Friars.
If every coach was the same and every dollar amount was the same, the one thing you can fall back on as far as recruiting is, proximity to home. Can your family come watch you play?
Definitely.
So, yeah, I think that's a very underrated thing, and it applies to the portal just like it applies to high school recruiting. So,
yep. Another name that we've talked about or heard about is Colby Duggan, not Max Duggan, Colby Duggan. This one's an interesting one. He's, kind of like a stretch 4 big man, can shoot a little bit. I don't really know too much about him other than that. I think that he kind of falls into that same category. Haven't really watched him. How do we feel about Duggan? Any thoughts?
First off, he is a Mass kid as well, so he's a local kid.
There you go. Yep.
Side note, people forget Max Duggan was a Heisman finalist back in 2022. Just wanted to throw that out there. Most random season ever. But yeah, Eduardo said Bol Bowen is the perfect guy for Kim's system. I think, like, realistically, you want some sort of size who can shoot. Now, Duggan's not like a 6'10" freak of nature, but he's a big body wing and can stretch the floor. And that's honestly, if you want to get excited about any of these transfers, look at their 3-point percentage, because we saw what the offense looked like last year. Yeah, if they shoot at a competent enough clip, there's reason to be optimistic. Optimistic. Sorry.
Yeah,
it's been a long week.
That's all right. So kind of staying on that train, similar player, a little bit shorter, but kind of similar makeup, also white. Bobby Durkin. He had a good game against us. I really, really like Bobby Durkin. 13.5 points per game. Done it against some pretty decent teams. This one would be a good one for us. He's in there. I think he's probably, for me, in my top 5. I think this is a really good get for us if we can get him. And I don't think he would be like crazy, money. I think he'd be very reasonable. He's not going to be the best player on the team, but I think he would be a very valuable piece.
I actually had to pull up Bobby Durkin because Davidson has a plethora of exciting whites. So that game in Atlantis, I was just like I didn't even think to pay attention to the numbers. I was just like, that's a white. Like they all look the same. They're all lanky, and I could be completely botching it, but like a lot of lanky white dudes on that team. But listen, man, if he can shoot it, and he's tall, and has any form of hand-eye coordination, like, I feel like he's a guy you want.
Yeah, agreed. Well said. Who else we got? Who else was on the tweet? We got a lot more to talk about here.
I don't know who was on the tweet, but let's talk about Joseph Sandin real quick.
Another homegrown kid. Another homegrown kid. Lev, what do you think about Sanon? I don't even know how to
Well,
pronounce his name. Sanon.
is that officially how you pronounce? I always thought it was Sano, honestly, but I don't know.
Hey, hopefully we'll have it down pat by December.
Yeah, that'd be sick. I think he's like the prize. You know, I don't know if he's I don't know if he'd been my number one. I mean, in terms of like ceiling though, like he's got to be up there in terms of portal. You know, like that's the thing about a guy like that, right? He could be unbelievable, and he could be first team All Big East next year, or maybe be a little more like on the West Cardette side. There's a lot of unknown there, right? Just from 1 year at ASU. I would say that, more than likely he would be a really good player here for us. I think he fits the system. I think he likes it here. He visited 20 fucking times. But he's definitely different than like Bryce, where like with Bryce, pretty much exactly what you're going to get, This one would be a little more of a wild card, but man, I would love to get this kid. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Viva Fall River. So Sanon is a Fall River kid. That's 20 minutes from Providence. Everything's 20 minutes in this area, but this is a kid that was highly, highly recruited. You could argue PC didn't make his top 10 when he was being recruited, but at the end of the day, like, you can fall on proximity to home. And maybe it's a money thing for him. Maybe it's a situation thing for him. But this is a kid that, if he committed to PC this time last year, we'd all be on cloud nine. Like, you don't want to fall sucker to rankings, but he was highly ranked. This would have been a huge splash for PC a year ago. So unless, he's some sort of locker room cancer, which I doubt he is, it should be almost as big of a splash in 2025 as it would be in 2024.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I just, there has to be a reason why he didn't commit here. Maybe the money wasn't right. Maybe we're a little too much money was tied up with number 23. I don't know, but we have a chance to make it right. So
did you know Massachusetts is home to the longest bridge in the world, the longest running bridge in the world?
I don't think I knew that. No.
Yeah, the Braga Bridge stretches from Somerset to Fall River. I mean, Somerset to Portugal. Fuck, I fucked that joke up.
You fucked it up. I knew.
The Braga Bridge goes from Somerset to Portugal.
I was like, what the fuck? I think you've made that joke before. Where? Not on the show, but I think maybe to me. I don't know.
It might have been in a group chat or something.
Yeah, I feel like I remember that. That's a good one. If a clean delivery on that one, that joke does hit, I will say.
Yeah, see, I fumbled live on air too.
It's all right. That's life.
We'll be better.
Yeah. So, yeah. Who else we got? Who's next? Line them up.
One guy that is, the Friars are probably not in the mix on. And also, no one probably said anything about it, but Nick Pringle from South Carolina is in the portal, and he was on that Alabama Final Four team a couple years ago, or last year, sorry. He's another guy. He could just be like a rotation piece. It's a 1-year rental guy, but a good, solid, reliable big with some sort of a post game. And the Friars had a guy this season with Final Four experience, and I think he turned out pretty damn well. So just a mature, older guy who's been there before.
Yeah. Veterans win games, if you look at most of the teams left in the field, they have a lot of veterans, right? Obviously, you have your superhuman talents like Cooper Flagg, but juniors and seniors win games. Fifth-year guys win games. I mean, that's just kind of college basketball nowadays. So
another guy that has recently entered the portal, actually, I mean earlier today, and I am not entirely sure if PC's in on him at all, but a guy I would love on my team is Donovan Dent. Eduardo, you mentioned him when we were trying to pick our perfect bracket. This guy is just a dude who can take over a game. Really, I'm just listing names that are in the portal that are interesting to me at this point. But he's a baller. He's a bucket and can kind of run an offense.
Yeah, I think Dent to if Patino to Villanova has legs, then I think that Dent will be crazy not to follow, Patino there. So I don't know if he'll be available.
Names? Oh, another name we haven't even brought up yet is Mackenzie Mbako.
Yep. Don't know anything about him.
Mbako?
I don't know anything about him, honestly. But I've heard good things.
If I'm not mistaken, he was a former 5-star. And I'm just going to proof check myself here. I believe former 5-star and is a sophomore. So, I mean, this is a guy, again, not sure what the temperature check on this guy is as far as PC is concerned, but, 6'9" guy who would, I think, contribute immediately. You got him for more than 1 year. He's a sophomore. This is a name that I've heard come up pretty frequently. But Mbako and Malik Reneau,
yeah,
a couple Indiana guys that are pretty interesting. It's always weird to see these teams lose a head coach and then the teams just blow, like the rosters just blow up. Like it makes sense, but
yeah, that's how I'd love to pick Xavier apart. Swain. I mean, but it's just a lot of competition. The one thing I will say is a lot of these guys that lose their coach, especially like a Xavier situation, with kind of Miller leaving, I would say, kind of surprisingly, I think that there's probably like some of these guys probably weren't tampered with too much. Obviously, everyone's, good players are always going to get approached, but it's not like a lot of these guys were planning on entering the portal and they put their feelers out there with their people like, hey, let people know that I'm probably going to enter. These are probably like, relatively untouched guys that might get looked over a little bit. I'm not saying Swain would, but that it's just something to keep in mind. These unexpected firings is a good opportunity to kind of, maybe identify some players.
So big picture stuff here. In a perfect world, I mentioned earlier, you'd love to see the Friars sign someone right now. Like this very second, you'd love to see the Joe Tipton edit on your timeline. So-and-so commits to Providence College. But at the same time, last year, the roster was seemingly filled out by the time, the national championship ended. What do you guys think about the timing of the portal? What would you like to see Kim do? If you were Kim English right now.
Yeah.
First off, I think it's so stupid how they start the portal Monday. I think it should be after the tournament ends so that every team has a chance to start off fresh, But what do you think? What would Kim do?
If you were Kim English for a recruiting cycle or a portal cycle, would you be ultra aggressive? Also, like keeping in mind how last year seemed a little rushed, and then we saw how the transfers performed. I don't know. Like, how would you go about? We have a lot of open spots, filling out the roster. What's your philosophy?
I think if I was Kim English, you have to be aggressive. I mean, you have 7 guys on scholarship right now, so you have so many spots to fill, and I'm assuming it's going to be a make it or break it year for him. So just like he's probably going to overspend on a lot of players trying to get as much talent as possible and hopefully make the tournament next year. So I expect us to be very ultra aggressive.
Leb, what about you?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, the first thing you got to do is I would really try to spend a ton of money on a 4, a really good solid 4. And again, I think that with Kim's system and college basketball today, when I say 4, like I mean the guy that would potentially play the 4. Honestly, positionless basketball is pretty much where this team's going. You're going to have a center, and then you'll have 4 guys, in my opinion. But I still think that you need a point guard and you need a 4, quote unquote. So go get a 4 first, right? Like drop a ton of money on 4, like a Bol Bowen would be perfect. Now, when you're going to the point guard store, right, and you need like a long point guard that can get these guys the ball, you're telling this point guard like, hey, you want to play in the NBA? Well, great. We got 7-footer in Oswin. We got almost a 7-footer in Bol Bowen. These are the guys you're going to be passing the ball to. You got a good wing scorer in Corey Floyd, who's a good leader on the team, and you still have some other good pieces, Ryan Mila, and we're going to get some other transfers as well, and the team's going to come together. So you're now when you're shopping for a point guard, right? You need to show the point guard that when he comes here, he's not just going to like have no one to feed the ball to. So like in terms of being too fast or maybe rushing to fill out the roster, I don't really care. Like it doesn't matter. You got a lot of spots to fill, but if you can start with like a really solid score 4, long 4, it's going to be a lot easier to get a really good point guard here, which is really what they need.
I like your approach on that. You kind of want to flesh out the roster, and so you can go to a recruit, hopefully potentially a big fish, and say, hey, these are the guys you're playing with. You're not walking into some Pandora's box.
Right.
These are the guys you're playing with. They're legit. Let's run it. I think it's no secret. I think if you ask anyone in the state of Rhode Island or the surrounding areas, a down year and we're going into the office drawer. And there's gonna be a new captain of the ship in Friartown. For better or for worse. If I'm Kim, I'm going out and I'm getting experienced guys who have done it before. I'm not recruiting based on potential. You have, by the time the season starts, you're going to have 4 or 5, 6 of your own recruits on the team. Go get some proven talent, build around those young guys, show them how it's done. And another thing that I think was lacking on this year's roster was the mental toughness that he preaches, and I think the culture he's trying to build. Wes Cardette's not a Friar anymore. I don't have to bite my tongue. Wes Cardette was not built for the expectations of Kim English. Now, whether Kim holds a higher standard or not, that's a whole different conversation. But I don't think he's recruiting, at least last portal cycle. I don't think he recruited the dogs that he expects to have on his roster, talent aside. Like Devin Carter's don't grow on trees. So I think you got to look for tough, proven guys that are older and more mature. And that's kind of what I would recruit based off of.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so like in a perfect world, we talked about in a perfect world, like I would say either give me like Bol Bowen, and then shoot for, I mean, if Melvin Council is available, great. That'd be awesome. And then I really like Sebastian Wilkins. He's not a transfer, but he has huge upside, and I think he would be an instant impact player. And then, I mean, you're kind of filling things out. That's 3 players right there, right? You probably need one more like stud to be competitive, in the Big East next year with those, after those 3 guys. And then you have like probably 2 more like just role players or like project, pieces.
Like I said, I think I said it in a previous episode, this is going to be the most important portal cycle in the history of the Providence College basketball program. Like,
absolutely,
I believe a lot is weighing on this. And if Kim wants to build some sort of culture, I think you got to recruit dogs. You got to recruit guys who have been there before, because you need results and you need them now, to put it bluntly. So this is a very important cycle, and he's under a microscope.
Definitely. Well said. Eduardo, you got anything you want to add?
I was about to ask, because I am a betting man. If you had to put money on Kim English's first recruit in this cycle, who would you put money on?
I think what Leb was. I think Leb's pretty close, like in the ballpark of what my prediction would be. Is he goes out and gets a stretch 4 or like a depth big behind Oswin, some sort of 4 or 5. I think that's got to be top priority, because you need. Right now, it's just Oswin. Everyone else is a guard or a wing, and then it's Oswin. Go out and get a big.
Yeah. I think that's very possible. I think you might see a 4. I think that probably be the most, reasonable guess. I will say, someone said this in the chat last night. The player that has probably the best relationship with the coaching staff that is in the portal right now is Sanon, or how do you pronounce his name? Sanon?
We'll figure it out by opening night.
I always thought Sanon, but he has the best relationship with the staff, and at this point in the portal, I mean, they've already probably had discussions about money, in the past year. So it's probably just about, hey, like, what do you want to come here? So I wouldn't be surprised if they are going after a big fish like that. Then I wouldn't be surprised if he's the first one. But I would say that, yeah, probably more like a Duggan, which is be a little underwhelming, I guess, but a Duggan, maybe a Durkin, Bowen, one of those guys, So I don't know, but definitely it's coming down. I think we're gonna have someone by Friday. I think that's just a prediction. Haven't heard anything, but I think that someone by Friday makes sense. First week, program is in a position where we need good news, and I don't think that they're gonna wait, because they have a lot of roster spots to fill.
Mm-hmm. I chuckled earlier because when you were listing names, you said Duggan Durkin, and I thought you were speaking a different language for a second. Eduardo, what say you? What do you think happens?
Well, I think we get a point guard, like you guys said, point guard, power forward. But I think I'm going to predict right now Taylor Bol Bowen is going to be our first commit by the end of the week.
I fucking love it. Absolutely love it. This is a really fun time of year, During the season, you think that, there's going to be more stuff to talk about during the season, but like this is when these things are probably at its peak, because you can only talk about the game and the games so much, right? There's not a lot of moving parts. There's no transfers mid-year, It's just basically just injuries and things like that. But this is like where, guys like us shine.
And Eduardo's going
I'm excited.
Eduardo's going to make the first big splash of the offseason, because we're going to clip when he said Bol Bowen will be the first transfer PC lands. That clip's going to go triple platinum.
I can't wait. I legitimately can't wait. I'm
Crystal
shaking.
Ball Eduardo.
Taylor Bol Bowen has picked up a crucial.
My last big
Eduardo.
take on the last pod didn't go so well, so I'm due.
Yeah, we're not going to Mars.
That's all right. But hey, we had a good run. That first day was like generational.
Yeah, that was electric. I think we got the first 10 or 11 games of the day correct. And then I'm sweating out Kansas, Arkansas. And now Arkansas is in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
I really thought we had a chance to go to Mars.
Well, maybe next year when we pick the Friars to win the national championship and we're celebrating a natty on Mars. Are you kidding me? Dude, there's no better way to do it than that.
We should ask Elon to host the national championship parade on Mars. You think you could inhabit the state of Rhode Island on Mars?
Well, if Mars was habitable, I think you could put Rhode Island pretty much anywhere, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's enough room for it, atmospherical problems and things like that, storms. I'm not an astronaut, so I can't really answer that. But Rhode Islanders, I will say, are very adaptable, we're very tough. So if it's a, atmosphere issue, if it's a crops issue, I think we'll probably figure it out, we'll be very annoying about it, but we'll figure it out.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you. Anyone else you want to talk about? I mean, this is the transfer portal show. So,
I think we've talked about the guys that I'm high on. Nick Pringle, Donovan Dent, probably not going to land either of them. Bol Bowen, Taylor Bol Bowen, Mackenzie Mbako is another one I like.
let me just read
haven't
off
really
all
dove
the
into
names.
the guards at all.
Yeah. Well, Pasha. So Pasha's one that I like. Isaiah Pasha. Someone said Isaac McNeely. That's he's a good player. I doubt we're gonna have a chance with him. So I like Pasha. I obviously like McNeely. Oscar Clough, Malik Moore, Josh Pasquarelli, Isaiah Coleman. I don't think that's probably going to happen.
That was my next
Reed
question.
Bailey.
Was if there's any shot at Isaiah Coleman? Because he's a guy. I mean, Seton Hall is going to get stuck in a vicious cycle of recruiting and developing good talent and then losing them to the portal. Because Kadari Richmond, the only reason he went to St. John's was like openly because of money. And
yeah,
Isaiah Coleman, he'll get a bag somewhere. And I feel like it's just going to be this vicious cycle. Yeah, so
definitely.
Blows for Seton Hall, but better them than us.
And how do you not become that, right? You have to develop a program that kids want to play in and stay, because like I think Seton Hall, they obviously had a tough year. I do think Holloway's a good coach. They don't really get a ton of fans. It's not really the best infrastructure over there. So like PC has more to offer than Seton Hall. So how do you not become Seton Hall? It's tough. It still might happen, but it hasn't happened yet. Like we have not been a feeder team yet. We're losing Jayden Pierre and Bryce Hopkins. Those are two guys that have been with the program for 3 years, and it's like it's time for them to move on. That's a different situation. Coleman and Kadari, those are like, all right, the second they're ready to take that next step and be stars, they're gone. Pierre and Hopkins had every opportunity to both be stars here. Just, didn't really work out.
Yeah, well said. Eduardo, any other transfers you're salivating over you want to talk about?
I haven't been really paying attention, to be honest. Transfer portal show, but I just want to zoom into who we get. Really.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, luckily we'll probably get 6 or 7.
I just don't want to get attached to some guy saying, "Oh, he's gonna be the next Friar," and then he just goes to somewhere else.
Yeah, that's fair. We're gonna get 6 or 7 Joe Tipton edits this offseason. There's a lot of spots to fill, so like Leb said, we'll probably get one by the end of the week. And about half a dozen more in the next couple months. So I think we're going to be pretty overly stimulated as Friar fans this offseason.
There's going to be a lot of stimulation. It's going to be very interesting, going to be very fun. And it's very impossible to keep up with all the transfers, Like a guy enters his name in the portal. I start researching his stats. Boom, another guy. Get a text, oh, we need this guy. Okay, let me look him up. Not even done looking him up. New text. No, we need this guy. Like, it's incredible. It's so hard to keep up with. And it's better sometimes to just wait, until like you start to hear, okay, like these are the guys we're like really trying for. And I think you're starting to see kind of a little bit of a list, but it's still huge, especially given how many spots, we got to fill.
I think I need to kind of side note, but I never have any idea when we're like onto a guy by any means. I think I'm going to join the Trilly Discord live on air because I need my stimulation.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea for sure. I will not be joining the Trilly Discord. People send me screenshots all the time from the Discord about people, not very pro Leb space. So
if you join the Discord, I fully believe you would experience a digital beheading. So it's probably smart of you.
Yeah, maybe I'm in it and they don't even know. Who knows?
True.
No, I want to add one more player because I just saw Providence just contacted him. It's Bryce Lindsey from James Madison.
Oh yeah. Lindsey's list is incredibly long, but I do think that we would be okay there. I think he has a long list of suitors, but I feel like we would be close to the top based on playing time and need. Anyone else?
So 6'3" sophomore. The only thing that concerns me, and this is, I don't know if this is just new age NIL, and this is the last thing, and then we can hop off. The only thing that so Bryce Lindsey, rising junior, he's already played for 2 schools. He's going to be playing for a third next season. These type of guys do kind of scare me. You always see those graphics of those guys who play for 4 teams in 4 years or 5 teams in 5 years. So I don't know. Some players like to get passed around, and I just don't want to. I'm not saying Bryce Lindsey is that type of player. I just don't want to be associated with players that get passed around. I like my players.
I think
classy.
No, I agree. I mean, being like involved with the college basketball mercenaries, right, of the world is gonna make it hard for us to compete consistently. To have to go back to that well and overpay year in and year out for, a 1-year guy. For me, it's not the business I think that we should be in. I think we should identify maybe guys that really, really fit, really want to be here, and you could really maybe see being here for a couple of years. And if they only give you a year because they were so good, then great. You know, like just like with Sober with Georgetown, right? Take a shot on a high school kid, ends up being all Big East, right? I mean, that's the dream, that's the goal. So, yeah, I don't think that those like I hate to use Wes Cardette right as the example because he did have he stayed at Chicago State for like I think more than 1 year, but he seemed like just a mercenary, like a guy that's just going to come in and just be like 17 points per game. That's it. That's all you're going to get. And like that's right if he could do that, but he couldn't. So
That's all I got though. I don't like my I don't like my college basketball players passed around. If anyone can have them, I don't want them.
give me the virgins.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I think we're good, right?
Yeah, I'm good. Eduardo, you got anything else?
I'm good.
Perfect.
All right, boys. Let's go get some guys. Retweet.
Let's go portaling.
Later.